Alexander the Great was born in Pella, the capital of the Kingdom of Macedon. This ancient city, rich in history and culture, was the perfect birthplace for a future conqueror. Pella was not just a political center, but also a hub of learning and arts, setting the stage for Alexander's multifaceted education and upbringing. The year was 356 BCE, a time when the world was vastly different from today. The ancient Greeks were pioneering in philosophy, science, and the arts, and the Macedonian kingdom was on the rise, poised to make a significant impact on the world stage. His father was King Philip II, a powerful and ambitious ruler. Philip was known for his military prowess and strategic mind, qualities that he would pass on to his son. Under his reign, Macedon transformed into a formidable military power, setting the foundation for Alexander's future conquests. His mother was Olympias, a woman known for her fiery personality and her claim of descent from Achilles. Olympias was a strong influence in Alexander's life, instilling in him a sense of destiny and greatness. Her belief in his divine heritage fueled his ambition and drive. Alexander's birth was surrounded by legends and omens. It was believed that his arrival was foretold by the gods, marking him for greatness. These stories added to the mystique and allure that would follow him throughout his life. It was said that on the night he was born, the temple of Artemis in Ephesus burned down. This event was seen as a powerful omen, suggesting that the birth of Alexander was of cosmic significance. The temple, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, was a symbol of divine favor and protection. Alexander's childhood was spent in the royal court at Pella. Surrounded by the splendor and intrigue of the Macedonian court, he was exposed to the complexities of politics and governance from a young age. This environment nurtured his natural talents and prepared him for the challenges ahead. He received a privileged education, tutored by some of the greatest minds of his time, including the philosopher Aristotle. Alexander was taught a wide range of subjects. His education was not just about knowledge, but also about developing a strategic and analytical mind. He learned about literature, philosophy, and music. These subjects broadened his horizons and gave him a deep appreciation for the cultural achievements of his people. This well-rounded education would later influence his approach to leadership and governance. He excelled in physical activities such as riding, hunting, and fighting. These skills were essential for a future king and warrior. Alexander's prowess in these areas earned him respect and admiration from his peers and elders alike. Alexander was a bright and curious child. His inquisitive nature drove him to explore and understand the world around him. This curiosity was a key trait that would define his later expeditions and conquests. He was also headstrong and ambitious, like his father. This determination and drive were evident from a young age, as he constantly sought to prove himself and achieve greatness. His ambition was not just personal but also for the glory of his kingdom. From a young age, Alexander dreamed of glory and conquest. He was fascinated by tales of heroism and adventure, and he aspired to surpass the achievements of his ancestors. This dream would eventually lead him to create one of the largest empires in history. He would listen intently to stories of his ancestors, especially Achilles, the hero of the Trojan War. These stories of bravery and valor inspired him and shaped his vision of what he wanted to achieve. Alexander saw himself as a modern-day Achilles, destined for greatness and eternal glory. King Philip II of Macedon was a formidable ruler, a man of great ambition and vision. His reign marked a turning point in the history of Greece. He had transformed Macedon from a backwater kingdom into the dominant power in Greece, a feat that required not only military prowess, but also strategic brilliance. Philip was a skilled general and a shrewd politician. His ability to lead men into battle was matched by his talent for forging alliances and manipulating political landscapes. He created a powerful professional army, the likes of which Greece had never seen. This army was disciplined, well-trained, and fiercely loyal to their king. He used a combination of diplomacy and military might to subdue his enemies. Through treaties, marriages, and sheer force, he expanded his influence across the region. Philip had a grand vision for his reign. He saw himself not just as a king, but as a unifier of the Greek world. He wanted to unite the Greek city-states under his rule, believing that a unified Greece could achieve greatness and stand strong against any external threats. His ultimate goal was to conquer the Persian Empire, the ancient enemy of the Greeks. This was a bold and audacious plan, but Philip was determined to see it through. Philip believed that this was his destiny, and he instilled this belief in his son Alexander. He trained Alexander not just as a prince but as a future conqueror. Philip's ambition and his vision of conquest had a profound impact on Alexander. The young prince grew up in an environment charged with the energy of his father's dreams. He grew up with the belief that he was destined for greatness. Every lesson, every training session was imbued with the idea that he was to surpass his father. He was determined to surpass his father's achievements and create an empire that would span the known world. Alexander's conquests would eventually eclipse those of Philip, but it was his father's vision that set him on this path. When Alexander was 13 years old, Philip II hired the philosopher Aristotle to be his tutor. Aristotle was one of the greatest thinkers of all time. He had studied under Plato at the Academy in Athens. Aristotle was a polymath. He had expertise in logic, physics, metaphysics, ethics, politics, and rhetoric. Aristotle taught Alexander for 3 years at a secluded sanctuary called the Nymphaeum. He provided Alexander with a well-rounded education. He instilled in him a love of learning and a thirst for knowledge. Aristotle's teachings had a profound impact on Alexander's intellectual and moral development. He instilled in him a respect for reason and logic. He also taught him the importance of virtue, courage, and justice. These lessons would stay with Alexander throughout his life and would shape his actions as a ruler. Aristotle's teachings on philosophy and strategy were particularly influential on Alexander. Aristotle believed in the power of reason. He taught Alexander how to think critically and to analyze situations logically. These skills would prove invaluable to Alexander in his military campaigns and his rule as an emperor. Aristotle also taught Alexander about strategy and tactics. He used practical examples from Greek history. He explained the principles of warfare. Alexander learned about the importance of planning, logistics, and discipline in battle. He also learned about the different formations and maneuvers that could be used to outwit and defeat the enemy. Aristotle's lessons on philosophy and strategy gave Alexander the intellectual tools he needed to succeed as a military commander and a ruler. Section 5. Lessons in Leadership, from Aristotle to Alexander. Aristotle also emphasized the importance of leadership. He believed that a true leader must possess both wisdom and courage. He must be able to inspire his followers and to lead them to victory. Aristotle stressed the importance of virtue. A leader must be just and compassionate. He must rule for the benefit of his people, not for his own personal gain. Alexander took these lessons to heart. He strove to be a virtuous and courageous leader. He treated his followers with respect and loyalty. He inspired them to achieve great things. Aristotle's teachings on leadership would shape Alexander's reign and leave an indelible mark on history. Section 6. The Battle of Chaeronea, a Baptism by Fire. In 338 BCE, when Alexander was 18 years old, he had his first taste of battle at Chaeronea in Boeotia. Philip II's army faced a coalition of Greek city-states led by Athens and Thebes. The Battle of Chaeronea was a decisive moment in Greek history. It marked the end of the era of the independent Greek city-state and the rise of Macedon as the dominant power in Greece. The battle was fierce and bloody. Alexander played a pivotal role in the Macedonian victory. He commanded the Companion Cavalry, an elite unit of Macedonian horsemen. Section 7. Leading the Charge, Alexander's cavalry debut. Alexander and his Companion Cavalry were positioned on the right wing of the Macedonian army. Their objective was to break through the lines of the Theban Sacred Band, an elite unit of hoplites known for their bravery and skill. Alexander led his cavalry with great courage and determination. He charged into the heart of the Theban lines, breaking their formation and throwing them into disarray. The Companion Cavalry, with Alexander at their head, cut through the enemy ranks. They caused significant casualties. Alexander's cavalry charge was a decisive moment in the Battle of Chaeronea. It broke the back of the Theban resistance and paved the way for a Macedonian victory. Section 8. A Glimpse of the Future, the Making of a General. The Battle of Chaeronea was Alexander's first major military victory. It showcased his courage, his strategic brilliance, and his ability to inspire his troops. The battle also gave Alexander invaluable experience that would serve him well in his later campaigns. He had witnessed the horrors of war firsthand. He had learned the importance of discipline, strategy, and leadership in battle. The Battle of Chaeronea was a turning point in Alexander's life. It marked his transition from a prince to a warrior. It gave him a glimpse of his destiny as a conqueror. Section 9. Legacy of a Prince from Pella to Persia. Alexander the Great's early life was marked by a combination of exceptional circumstances and personal qualities. Born in 356 BC in the ancient city of Pella, the capital of Macedonia, Alexander was destined for greatness from the very beginning. His father, King Philip II, was a formidable ruler and military strategist, while his mother, Queen Olympias, was known for her intelligence and strong will. These influences would shape Alexander's character and ambitions profoundly. His lineage, his education, and his upbringing were all meticulously crafted to prepare him for the throne. Philip II ensured that Alexander received the best education possible, hiring the renowned philosopher Aristotle as his tutor. Aristotle's teachings went beyond mere academics. He instilled in Alexander a love for knowledge, a passion for philosophy, and an appreciation for the arts. This education was crucial in shaping Alexander into the legendary conqueror he would become. Aristotle's influence on Alexander cannot be overstated. He taught him the importance of logic, ethics, and the pursuit of excellence. From his birth in Pella, a city rich in history and culture, Alexander was surrounded by the remnants of past glories and the promise of future conquests. His tutelage under Aristotle was a defining period in his life, providing him with the intellectual tools and moral compass that would guide his future endeavors. To his decisive action at the Battle of Chaeronea, where he demonstrated his military prowess and strategic acumen at a young age, Alexander's path was paved with the building blocks of greatness. His thirst for knowledge, his military prowess, and his unwavering determination were evident from a young age. These qualities set him apart from his peers and marked him as a leader destined for greatness. The Prince of Macedon, tempered by philosophy, bloodied by battle, and driven by an unquenchable ambition, was poised to inherit his father's dreams of conquest. His early experiences, from his education to his participation in battles, were all stepping stones that prepared him for the monumental task ahead. Alexander's ambition knew no bounds. He was not content with merely inheriting a kingdom. He sought to expand it beyond the known world. The Prince of Macedon, with his unique blend of intellect, courage, and ambition, was ready to embark on a journey that would change the course of history, and embark on a journey that would forever etch his name into the annals of history. His conquests would span continents, and his legacy would endure for millennia. The world would tremble before Alexander the Great, a legend forged in the fires of his youth. His story is one of unparalleled ambition, relentless pursuit of excellence, and a vision that transcended the boundaries of his time.
The year was 336 BC, a time when the world was vastly different from what we know today. The ancient Greek world was a tapestry of city-states, each with its own ambitions and rivalries. In this complex landscape, one man had risen above the rest. Philip II of Macedon, a ruler of unparalleled military genius, lay dead on the cold stone. His death was not just the end of a life, but the beginning of a crisis that would shake the foundations of his empire. He was attending his daughter's wedding, a grand event meant to solidify alliances and celebrate unity. It should have been a time of celebration, a moment of joy and festivity. Instead, it was a scene of chaos and bloodshed. The joyous occasion turned into a nightmare as the king fell. A trusted bodyguard, Pausanias, had struck him down. The reasons behind this betrayal were as murky as the waters of the Aegean Sea. The kingdom was in shock. The suddenness of the act left everyone reeling, unsure of what would come next. Who would rule now? The question hung heavy in the air, a cloud of uncertainty over the land. There were whispers of conspiracy, murmurs that hinted at deeper plots and hidden agendas. Some believed that Olympias, Philip's estranged wife, was involved. Her ambitions for her son were well known, and many suspected her hand in the king's demise. Others pointed fingers at foreign powers who feared Philip's growing might. His plans for expansion had made many enemies beyond Macedon's borders. In the midst of the uncertainty, one figure stepped forward: Alexander, Philip's son. Young and untested, he was now thrust into the spotlight. At just 20 years old, Alexander faced a monumental task. The weight of an entire kingdom now rested on his shoulders. He inherited a kingdom on the brink of chaos. Factions within and threats from without loomed large. Many saw Philip's death as an opportunity to break free from Macedonian rule. Rebellions and uprisings were a real and present danger. Alexander had to act quickly and decisively to secure his throne and fulfill his father's dream, the conquest of Persia. His journey was just beginning, and the world would soon witness the rise of one of history's greatest conquerors. Alexander was no stranger to power. From a very young age, he was immersed in the world of politics and leadership, understanding the weight of the crown that would one day rest upon his head. He was groomed for leadership from birth. His father, King Philip II, ensured that Alexander received the best training and education, preparing him for the immense responsibilities that lay ahead. His education was entrusted to Aristotle himself. Under the guidance of this great philosopher, Alexander learned not only about philosophy and science, but also about ethics, politics, and the art of war. He was a skilled warrior, a brilliant strategist, and a charismatic leader. His training in combat was rigorous, and he quickly mastered the skills needed to lead men into battle. His father's death ignited a fire within him. The sudden loss of King Philip II was a turning point, thrusting Alexander into a position of power and responsibility at a young age. He would not let his father's legacy crumble. Determined to honor his father's memory, Alexander vowed to continue Philip's work and expand the Macedonian Empire. He would prove himself worthy of the throne and the loyalty of his people. His resolve was unshakable, and he quickly gained the respect and admiration of those around him. His first challenge was to solidify his position within Macedon. He needed to ensure that his rule was undisputed and that his authority was recognized by all. He swiftly dealt with rivals and secured the support of the army. His decisive actions and strategic mind allowed him to eliminate threats and unify his forces. With his authority established, Alexander turned his attention south. He knew that to secure his kingdom, he needed to address the unrest in the Greek city-states. The Greek city-states, long under Macedonian control, saw an opportunity in Philip's death. They believed that the young king would be too inexperienced to maintain control. They yearned for freedom, for a return to their former glory. The desire for independence and self-governance was strong among the Greek people. They would soon learn that underestimating Alexander would be their downfall. The young king was not only prepared to defend his realm, but also to expand it, proving his mettle on the battlefield. Thebes, Athens, Sparta, these once powerful city-states rose in rebellion. They misjudged Alexander's resolve. They believed him to be nothing more than an inexperienced boy, easily manipulated and controlled. Alexander would prove them wrong, swiftly and brutally. He marched his army south, crushing any resistance he encountered. He offered a chance for peaceful submission, but for those who defied him, there was only annihilation. He made an example of those who dared to challenge him. His actions sent a clear message. Alexander was not to be trifled with. He was not merely the son of Philip, he was a force of nature, a storm that would sweep across the land, leaving a path of destruction in its wake. The city of Thebes, once a beacon of Greek power, became a symbol of Alexander's ruthlessness. The Thebans, emboldened by rumors of Alexander's death in battle, openly revolted. They underestimated him. Alexander's response was swift and merciless. He laid siege to the city, and after a short but bloody assault, Thebes fell. The city was razed to the ground, its citizens slaughtered or sold into slavery. The destruction of Thebes served as a brutal lesson to the rest of Greece. It extinguished any remaining embers of rebellion. Alexander had secured his kingdom and cemented his reputation as a fearsome warrior king. With Greece under his control, he could now turn his attention eastward towards the Persian Empire and the fulfillment of his destiny. The Persian Empire, vast and wealthy, had long been in the sights of Philip of Macedon. He had dreamed of conquering it, of avenging the Persian invasions of Greece. Now it was his son who inherited that dream, a dream that burned brighter than ever in Alexander's heart. Alexander saw himself as more than just a king. He believed himself to be a god-king destined for greatness. The conquest of Persia was not just a strategic objective, it was a divine mission, a test set by the gods themselves. He gathered his armies, the finest fighting force in the known world. They were a well-oiled machine, disciplined and deadly. united by their loyalty to Alexander and their thirst for glory. In the spring of 334 BC, Alexander crossed the Hellespont, the narrow strait separating Europe from Asia. This crossing was not just a physical journey, but a symbolic act, marking the beginning of his grand campaign against the Persian Empire. The Hellespont, known today as the Dardanelles, was a significant geographical and cultural boundary, and crossing it was a bold statement of intent. It was a symbolic moment, the beginning of an epic campaign that would reshape the ancient world. Alexander's army, composed of seasoned Macedonian warriors and eager Greek allies, was ready to embark on a journey that would take them deep into the heart of the Persian Empire. The crossing of the Hellespont was the first step in a series of bold maneuvers that would demonstrate Alexander's strategic genius and unyielding ambition. He was a young man on a mission, leading an army on an unprecedented adventure. At just 21 years old, Alexander had already proven himself as a capable leader, but this campaign would test his limits and push him to new heights. His charisma and vision inspired his troops, who were willing to follow him into the unknown. His first objective was to secure the Ionian Greek cities, coastal settlements under Persian control. These cities were strategically important, providing access to resources and acting as a buffer against Persian counterattacks. By liberating these cities, Alexander aimed to win the support of the local populations and establish a strong foothold in Asia Minor. He aimed to liberate them and use them as a base of operations for his campaign inland. Establishing control over these cities would allow him to secure supply lines and gather intelligence on Persian movements. It was a calculated move, demonstrating his understanding of both military strategy and the importance of local alliances. He knew that to conquer the Persian Empire, he had to first break its hold on the Aegean Sea, cutting off its supply lines and demoralizing its forces. Control of the sea was crucial for maintaining communication and supply routes, and Alexander's naval strategies were designed to isolate and weaken the Persian forces. His advance was not unopposed. The Persian Empire, vast and powerful, was not going to yield easily. Persian forces, commanded by experienced satraps, were ready to defend their territory and repel the Macedonian invaders. Persian satraps, the regional governors of the empire, gathered their armies to meet the Macedonian threat. These satraps were seasoned leaders, well versed in the art of war, and they were determined to stop Alexander's advance. They underestimated the young king, believing that his youth and inexperience would be his downfall. They underestimated the young king. Alexander's bold tactics and relentless drive would soon prove them wrong, as he outmaneuvered and outsmarted his enemies, achieving victories that would cement his legacy as one of history's greatest military leaders. The first major clash came at the Granicus River in what is now modern-day Turkey. The Persian army, confident in their numbers and position, awaited the Macedonians on the opposite bank. Alexander, as always, led from the front. The Battle of the Granicus was a resounding Macedonian victory. Alexander's tactical brilliance and the discipline of his troops shattered the Persian lines. The Persian satraps were killed or routed, leaving the road to the east wide open. The victory at Granicus sent shockwaves throughout the Persian Empire. It announced the arrival of a new power in the east, a power that would not be easily subdued. It was a sign of things to come, a taste of the Macedonian fury that would soon engulf the entire region. As Alexander marched eastward, he stopped at Gordium, the ancient capital of Phrygia. There he encountered a legendary chariot, its yoke tied with a complex knot. It was said that whoever could untie the Gordian knot was destined to rule all of Asia. Many had tried and failed, but Alexander was not one to be deterred by a simple knot. He examined it carefully, then, with a single stroke of his sword, he sliced through the knot, fulfilling the prophecy in his own way. The story of the Gordian knot spread like wildfire. It became a symbol of Alexander's boldness, his unwavering belief in his own destiny. It served as a powerful motivator for his troops and a source of fear for his enemies. With the Gordian knot untied and the road to the east open, Alexander continued his relentless advance. The Persian Empire lay before him, vast and wealthy, but also riddled with internal divisions and weakened by years of complacency. The young king, now a seasoned conqueror, was confident in his ability to overcome any obstacle. He had proven himself time and again on the battlefield. He had the loyalty of his troops and the fear of his enemies. He was Alexander the Great, and his legend had just begun. The year is 333 BC. Imagine the dust, smell the fear. The tension in the air is palpable, as if the very earth is holding its breath. Hear the noise, the clang of metal, the screams of men. The chaos of battle is all-consuming. On the banks of the Pinarus River, two worlds collide. The river itself seems to tremble under the weight of history being made. Alexander, the young king of Macedon, stares across the battlefield at Darius III, the mighty god-king of Persia. Their eyes lock, each sizing up the other. This is their first encounter, a moment that will be etched in the annals of history, a clash of titans. The ground shakes as the armies charge. Darius on his war chariot is a god to his men. His presence alone inspires awe and fear. He is surrounded by his immortals, the elite of the Persian army. These warriors are the best of the best. He has come to crush the upstart Macedonian prince. His confidence is unshakable. Alexander, atop his horse Bucephalus, exudes confidence. His every move is calculated. He is outnumbered, maybe 2-1, but his eyes betray no fear. His resolve is ironclad. He has a plan, a strategy that could turn the tide. The Persian army was massive, a seemingly unstoppable force. They outnumbered Alexander's forces, stretching far beyond what the eye could see. Darius had war elephants. These beasts were a terrifying sight. He had chariots with scythed wheels, instruments of death designed to mow down enemies. The ground practically vibrated from the Persian army. The sheer weight of their numbers was overwhelming. Their numbers alone were supposed to be enough to break Alexander's army, but numbers aren't everything. But Alexander had speed, he had agility, and most importantly, he had the loyalty of his men. They trusted him implicitly. They would follow him to hell and back. Their loyalty was unwavering. Today they would march into the Persian heart, into the very core of their enemy's strength. Alexander was a master strategist, a genius on the battlefield. He learned from the best, trained by Aristotle himself, absorbing not just philosophy but also the art of war. He knew he couldn't win a battle of attrition against the vast Persian forces. He had to strike fast and break the Persian lines with precision and speed. His eyes scanned the Persian formation, meticulously looking for a weak point to exploit. He found it on the Persian left, near the riverbank, a vulnerable spot. The Persian army was positioned on a narrow plain between the Mediterranean Sea and the Pinarus River, a strategic blunder. Alexander saw that Darius had made a critical mistake. He had underestimated the Macedonians and positioned his army with their backs to the sea, leaving no room for retreat. There would be no escape for the Persians, not this time. The trap was set. Alexander's plan was simple but effective, a testament to his tactical brilliance. He would use himself as bait to draw the Persians towards the river, a daring move. He would then use his companion cavalry, the elite of his army, to punch a hole in the Persian line, creating chaos. Once the line broke, the entire Persian army would crumble, unable to regroup. He rallied his men, his voice booming across the ranks, instilling courage and determination. "Today we fight for glory," he declared, his words igniting a fire in their hearts. "Today we fight for Greece!" The soldiers roared in unison, their spirits unbreakable. "Today we show the Persians what it means to face the Macedonians." The stage was set for a legendary battle. The charge was like thunder. The Macedonian phalanx, a wall of shields and spears, slammed into the Persian lines. The Persians, though initially resisting, were unprepared for the ferocity of the Macedonian assault. The ground trembled under the weight of the clashing armies. Blood stained the Pinarus River red. Alexander, at the head of his companion cavalry, was unstoppable. He rode into the heart of the Persian army, his spear a blur of death. He fought like a man possessed, cutting down any Persian who dared stand in his way. The companion cavalry, inspired by their leader's courage, fought like demons, their cries of "Alalalai" echoing across the battlefield. The Persian line began to waver. Darius, watching from his chariot, realized the genius of Alexander's plan. He had been drawn into a trap. His army, crowded together on the narrow plain, was being squeezed on all sides. Panic started to set in among the Persian ranks. Their formations, once so disciplined, began to crumble. The Macedonian phalanx, advancing relentlessly, was unstoppable. The Persian infantry, armed with lighter weapons and armor, couldn't withstand the onslaught. They broke and ran, trampling over their comrades in a desperate attempt to escape the Macedonian fury. Darius, seeing that the battle was lost, turned his chariot and fled. His personal bodyguard, the Immortals, fought bravely to buy their king time to escape, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. They were cut down to a man, dying for a king who had already abandoned them. Alexander, seeing Darius fleeing, gave chase. He wanted to capture the Persian king to end the war here and now, but Darius was too quick for him. He escaped across the river, leaving behind his chariot, his royal standard, and even his family in his desperate flight for safety. Section 5. The Flight of the King. Darius's flight was a sight to behold. Reduced to a figure of panic and desperation, raced across the plain, his chariot kicking up a cloud of dust. He abandoned his honor, his army, and even his family in his desperate bid to escape. The sight of their straw for the Persian army, all order collapsed. They became a panicked mob, each man fighting for his own survival. They were slaughtered by the thousands, cut down by the pursuing Macedonians, or as they tried to escape. The rout was complete. The mighty Persian army, once thought invincible, had been crushed by a force half its size. The battlefield was littered with the dead and dying. The ferocity of the fighting and the brilliance of Alexander's victory. The aftermath of the battle was chaos. The Macedonians, drunk on victory, looted the Persian camp. They feasted on Persian delicacies, drank their wine, and helped themselves to the riches of the East. Among the spoils of war was Darius's family. His mother, his wife, his children. They were captured by Alexander's forces and treated with the utmost respect. Alexander, unlike many conquerors before him, refused to mistreat his prisoners. He understood that their value as hostages far outweighed any pleasure he might derive from their suffering. The capture of Darius's family was a huge propaganda victory for Alexander. It proved to the world that he was not a barbarian, but a civilized ruler. It also put Darius in a very difficult position. He had lost his army, his treasury, and now his family. He was a king in name only, his empire hanging by a thread. The victory at Issus was a turning point in Alexander's campaign. It was not just a battle won, but a significant shift in the balance of power in the ancient world. He had defeated the largest empire the world had ever seen, an empire that had stood unchallenged for centuries. He had proven himself to be a brilliant strategist and a courageous leader, capable of inspiring his men to achieve the impossible. The aura of invincibility surrounding the Persian Empire was shattered, leaving its territories vulnerable and its people in disarray. The world was no longer afraid of the great king. The once mighty Persian rulers were now seen as fallible. They feared the young king from Macedon, whose ambition and military prowess seemed boundless. Alexander would go on to conquer the rest of the Persian Empire, from Egypt in the west to India in the east, expanding his domain to unprecedented lengths. He would found cities, establish trade routes, and spread Greek culture throughout his vast empire, leaving a lasting legacy. He would become a legend, known to history as Alexander the Great, a name synonymous with conquest and cultural fusion. The Battle of Issus was more than just a military victory. It was a defining moment that altered the course of history. It was a clash of civilizations, a pivotal moment in world history that marked the decline of one great empire and the rise of another. It marked the beginning of the end for the Persian Empire and the rise of the Macedonian Empire, reshaping the ancient world. It also signaled the beginning of a new era, an era of Hellenistic culture that would shape the world for centuries to come, influencing art, science, and philosophy. The Battle of Issus was just the first clash between Alexander and Darius. Darius, desperate to avenge his defeat, would raise another army and face Alexander again, this time at Gaugamela. But the outcome would be the same. Alexander would win another decisive victory, cementing his reputation as one of the greatest military commanders in history. These battles, fought thousands of years ago, still resonate today. They are studied by military leaders, historians, and armchair generals alike. They teach us about the nature of leadership, the importance of strategy, and the enduring power of courage. But perhaps the most important lesson we can learn from the Battle of Issus is the importance of adaptability. Alexander was outnumbered and outmatched, but he was able to adapt to the situation and devise a winning strategy. He didn't let the size of the Persian army intimidate him. He saw an opportunity and he seized it. The echoes of the clash at Issus still reverberate in our modern world. The image of Alexander charging into battle, leading from the front, continues to inspire. The story of his victory against seemingly insurmountable odds is a testament to the power of human ingenuity and determination. The Battle of Issus was a clash of titans, a battle for the ages. It was a battle that changed the course of history. And it is a battle that continues to fascinate and inspire us today. So the next time you face a seemingly insurmountable challenge, remember Alexander the Great at the Battle of Issus. Remember his courage, remember his brilliance, and remember that even the mightiest of empires can be brought down by a single, decisive blow.
Imagine a city, virtually untouchable, rising from the sea, a place where the horizon meets the sky and the waves kiss the walls of an ancient stronghold. This city, with its towering fortifications, seemed to float on the azure waters, a beacon of resilience and strength. It was a marvel of human ingenuity and natural beauty, a place where history and legend intertwined. This was Tyre, a Phoenician marvel, in 332 BC, a city that stood as a testament to the brilliance of its people, who were master sailors, traders, and builders. Tyre was not just a city, it was a symbol of the Phoenician civilization's prowess and their indomitable spirit. The city's strategic location made it a hub of commerce and culture, attracting traders and adventurers from far and wide. It stood as an island fortress protected by formidable walls that plunged into the Mediterranean. These walls were not just barriers, they were the lifeblood of Tyre, safeguarding its people and their way of life. The sea which surrounded the city was both a protector and a provider, offering sustenance and a natural defense against invaders. The walls of Tyre were a marvel of engineering, designed to withstand the test of time and the fury of the elements. These walls were not mere stone and mortar, they were a statement of defiance, a testament to Tyre's confidence in its impregnability. Each stone was meticulously placed, each wall carefully constructed to create an impenetrable barrier. The people of Tyre took great pride in their city's defenses, knowing that their safety and prosperity depended on the strength of these walls. The walls were a symbol of their unity and determination, a reflection of their unwavering resolve to protect their homeland. They had repelled countless sieges, their imposing height a silent warning to those who dared to dream of conquest. The history of Tyre is filled with tales of bravery and resilience, of a city that stood firm against the mightiest of foes. The walls of Tyre were not just physical barriers, they were a psychological deterrent, instilling fear and respect in the hearts of would-be conquerors. The city's defenders were skilled and determined, ready to lay down their lives to protect their home. For centuries, the waves had whispered tales of Tyre's strength, a fortress sculpted by the sea, unconquerable and proud. The sea, with its relentless waves, seemed to sing songs of Tyre's glory, of a city that defied the odds and stood tall against the ravages of time. Tyre was more than just a city, it was a legend, a beacon of hope and resilience for generations to come. Its story is a testament to the enduring spirit of its people and their unyielding determination to protect their heritage. Before Alexander the mightiest had come and gone, their dreams of conquest shattered against Tyre's walls. Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian king, lay siege for 13 long years, yet Tyre remained unbroken. Even the legendary Assyrian king Sennacherib, known for his ruthlessness, failed to subdue the island city. The waves whispered their names, a litany of the vanquished, their ambitions swallowed by the sea. Tyre's defenses had become legendary, its reputation as an impregnable fortress echoing across the ancient world. In 332 BC, a new threat emerged from the west, Alexander the Great. Fresh from his victories in Anatolia, Alexander turned his attention towards Tyre. This brash young king, barely in his 20s, was determined to add Tyre to his burgeoning empire. He knew of Tyre's reputation, the stories of failed sieges and impregnable defenses. However, Alexander was not deterred. Instead, his ambition was ignited by the challenge, his determination strengthened by the whispers of history. Alexander's generals surveyed the island fortress, their faces etched with doubt. The walls, the sea, the very nature of Tyre seemed to mock their ambitions. But Alexander, with the unwavering confidence that would define his legend, proposed an audacious plan to build a causeway, a massive land bridge, connecting the mainland to the island. This idea, bordering on madness, was met with skepticism. Yet, Alexander's conviction was infectious, his determination fueling the dreams of his men. Section 5. Engineering at its finest. Constructing the causeway. The construction of the causeway was a monumental undertaking, a testament to the engineering genius of Alexander's army. Trees were felled, stones quarried, and the remnants of old Tyre, destroyed by the Babylonians, provided a foundation. The work was relentless, the soldiers driven by Alexander's unyielding will. Day and night, the causeway grew, inching towards the island like a giant's arm reaching out to seize its prize. Section 6. Tyre fights back. Defiance against the Colossus. The citizens of Tyre, initially dismissive of Alexander's efforts, watched with growing alarm as the causeway inched closer. Secure behind their walls, they unleashed a torrent of arrows and missiles upon the Macedonian workers. Tyrian ships, swift and deadly, harassed the construction, attempting to disrupt the relentless progress. Still, the causeway grew, a testament to Alexander's unyielding ambition. Section 7. The tide turns. Naval superiority and siege warfare. To counter Tyre's naval superiority, Alexander employed a brilliant strategy. He assembled a fleet, drawing upon ships from conquered cities loyal to his cause. With this newfound naval power, Alexander challenged Tyre's dominance at sea. On land, massive siege towers were erected, dwarfing even Tyre's formidable walls. These towers, bristling with archers and artillery, rained down destruction upon the defenders. Section 8. The inevitable fall. The walls crumble, Tyre succumbs. After a grueling 7-month siege, Tyre, weakened and exhausted, finally succumbed to Alexander's relentless assault. The siege was one of the most challenging military operations of Alexander's career. The city of Tyre, located on an island and fortified with massive walls, seemed impregnable. But Alexander, known for his strategic brilliance, was not deterred. He ordered the construction of a causeway to reach the island, a feat that required immense labor and resources. Day by day, the Macedonian army inched closer to the city, facing fierce resistance from the Tyrians. The once impregnable walls were breached, the city gates forced open. The Tyrians fought valiantly, but the relentless pressure from Alexander's forces was too much to withstand. The Macedonian soldiers, driven by their leader's vision and determination, poured into the city. The streets of Tyre, once bustling with life, were now scenes of chaos and destruction. The fall of Tyre was not just a military victory, it was a psychological blow to all who believed the city was invincible. The fall of Tyre, a city that had withstood the test of time and the might of empires, sent shockwaves throughout the ancient world. For centuries, Tyre had been a symbol of resilience and strength. Its strategic location and formidable defenses made it a key player in the region. But now, with its walls crumbled and its people defeated, the message was clear. No city, no matter how strong, could stand against the might of Alexander the Great. It was a testament to Alexander's military genius, his unwavering determination, and the skill of his engineers and soldiers. The siege of Tyre showcased the innovative tactics and relentless drive that characterized Alexander's campaigns. His ability to adapt and overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles set him apart as one of history's greatest military leaders. The fall of Tyre was a pivotal moment in Alexander's conquests, demonstrating his capability to achieve the impossible and leaving an indelible mark on the annals of history. Section 9. A legacy forged in conquest. The significance of Tyre's fall. The siege of Tyre was more than a military victory, it was a turning point in Alexander's campaign. This ancient city, once a thriving hub of commerce and culture, stood as a formidable challenge to Alexander the Great. The city of Tyre was renowned for its impregnable walls and strategic location, making it a jewel of the Mediterranean. Alexander's determination to conquer Tyre was not just about expanding his empire, it was about sending a message to the world that no city, no matter how powerful, could withstand his might. It solidified his control over the eastern Mediterranean, paving the way for his conquest of Egypt. The fall of Tyre marked the beginning of a new era in the region. With Tyre under his control, Alexander could secure vital trade routes and resources, which were crucial for sustaining his army and furthering his conquests. The siege itself was a testament to Alexander's ingenuity and relentless pursuit of victory. He constructed a causeway to breach the island city's defenses, a feat that showcased his engineering prowess and strategic brilliance. The fall of Tyre serves as a reminder of the human capacity for both destruction and creation. The city's destruction was a tragic loss, but it also led to the birth of new opportunities and advancements. The remnants of Tyre tell a story of resilience and transformation. Archaeological digs continue to uncover artifacts that shed light on the city's rich history and the impact of Alexander's conquest. These discoveries help us understand the complexities of ancient warfare and the lasting influence of Alexander's empire. The causeway, a symbol of Alexander's ambition, still stands today, a testament to the enduring legacy of this ancient siege. It connects the ancient past with the present, reminding us of the remarkable achievements of one of history's greatest military leaders. The modern isthmus that now links Tyre to the mainland is a direct result of Alexander's vision and determination. As we look upon these ancient ruins and the causeway, we are reminded of the profound impact that historical events can have on shaping the world we live in today. Darius III, King of Kings, was a desperate man. His empire, once the most powerful in the known world, was now under threat from a young Macedonian upstart named Alexander. The stakes had never been higher, and Darius knew that this battle could determine the fate of his empire. He had assembled the largest army the world had ever seen. Tens of thousands of soldiers, each one ready to lay down their life for their king and country, stood in formation, their armor glinting under the harsh desert sun. From the furthest reaches of his empire they came. Persians, Medes, Babylonians, Indians, Egyptians. Each contingent brought their unique skills and weapons, creating a diverse and formidable force. The sheer variety of cultures and fighting styles was a testament to the vastness of Darius's empire. Chariots thundered across the plains, their scythed wheels thirsty for Macedonian blood. These chariots with their deadly blades were designed to cut through enemy ranks, leaving chaos and destruction in their wake. War elephants draped in bronze and silk trumpeted their challenge. These massive beasts, armored and adorned, were both a psychological and physical weapon, capable of trampling enemy soldiers and instilling fear in their hearts. 1,000,000 spears glinted in the sun. The sheer number of soldiers, each armed and ready for battle, was a sight to behold. It was a display of power and might, meant to intimidate and overwhelm any who dared to oppose them. Darius was confident. This time Alexander would be crushed. He had learned from past encounters and was determined not to repeat the same mistakes. His strategy was clear, and his resolve was unshakable. Darius had chosen the battlefield carefully, a flat, open plain near the village of Gaugamela. This location was strategic, offering the perfect terrain for his chariots and cavalry to operate effectively. It was perfect for his chariots and cavalry, giving them the space to outmaneuver and overwhelm the Macedonians. The open plain would allow his forces to use their speed and mobility to their advantage. He had even had the ground leveled to remove any obstacles. This meticulous preparation was a testament to his determination and his desire to leave nothing to chance. The Persian king, enthroned on a golden platform, surveyed his mighty host with grim satisfaction. From his elevated position, he could see the full extent of his power and the readiness of his troops. Today, he would avenge the humiliations of Granicus River and Issus. These past defeats had been a stain on his honor, and he was determined to erase them with a decisive victory. Today, the Macedonian upstart would meet his end. Darius was ready, his army was ready, and the stage was set for one of the most significant battles in history. Across the battlefield, a far smaller force, hardened by years of campaigning, awaited the Persian onslaught. These were no ordinary soldiers, they were veterans of countless battles, each one a testament to the resilience and tenacity of the Macedonian spirit. Their armor, though worn and battered, gleamed under the harsh sun, a symbol of their unwavering resolve. At their head rode Alexander of Macedon, the young king who had conquered half the known world. His presence alone was enough to inspire his men, for they knew that under his leadership they had achieved the impossible time and again. Alexander was not just a king, he was a symbol of hope and a beacon of courage. He was outnumbered, outmatched, and facing the might of the Persian Empire at its zenith. The Persian forces stretched as far as the eye could see, a seemingly endless sea of soldiers and chariots, each one ready to crush the Macedonian resistance. The odds were daunting, but Alexander had faced such challenges before. Yet his eyes burned with an icy fire. This was not the gaze of a man who knew defeat, it was the gaze of a lion ready to pounce. His determination was palpable, a force that seemed to radiate from him and infect his men with the same unyielding spirit. He would not be cowed. Alexander's mind was a whirlwind of strategies and tactics, each one more daring than the last. He knew that brute force alone would not win this battle. It would take cunning, precision, and an unbreakable will. Alexander knew that a direct assault against the Persian center would be suicidal. The heart of the Persian army was a fortress bristling with spears and shields ready to repel any attack. To charge headlong into such a force would be to invite certain death. He needed to use his limited forces wisely, striking at the enemy's weaknesses. Alexander's mind raced as he considered his options, each one a potential key to victory. He knew that the Persians, despite their numbers, had vulnerabilities that could be exploited. He would rely on his companion cavalry, the finest horsemen in the world, to break through the Persian lines. These elite warriors were not just soldiers, they were Alexander's trusted companions, each one hand-picked for their skill and bravery. Their charge would be the spearhead of his assault. But first, he had to draw them in, to create an opening. Alexander's mind was a chessboard, each move calculated to lure the Persians into a trap. He needed them to overextend, to expose a weakness that he could exploit. He would use himself as bait. Alexander knew that his presence on the front lines would be irresistible to the Persians. They would see him as a prize, a target to be captured or killed. But in their eagerness, they would fall into his trap, and the Macedonian lion would roar once more. The Persian attack began with a roar that shook the very earth. Chariots, drawn by teams of screaming horses, thundered towards the Macedonian lines. Behind them came wave after wave of Persian infantry, their shields forming a wall of wicker and bronze. The air filled with the twang of bowstrings as thousands of arrows blotted out the sun. Alexander had anticipated this. He ordered his infantry to advance in a staggered formation, creating gaps for the chariots to pass through. Javelins rained down, crippling horses, skewering drivers. Those chariots that made it through were met by disciplined spearmen, who formed a wall of iron against the panicked horses. The Persian attack had been blunted, but the battle was far from over. As the infantry clashed, a deadly game of cat and mouse unfolded between Alexander and Darius. Alexander, at the head of his companion cavalry, feigned an attack on the Persian left. Darius, fearing for his position, responded by sending a large force of cavalry to reinforce his left flank. Alexander had anticipated this. He had lured Darius into a trap. As the Persian cavalry moved to counter Alexander's feint, a gap opened in their line, a gap that Alexander had been waiting for. He wheeled his companion cavalry around in a breathtaking display of horsemanship, and charged straight at the weakened Persian center, aiming directly for Darius himself. Section 5. The Hammer Blow. The impact of the companion cavalry's charge was devastating. The Persian infantry, caught off guard and outmatched, crumpled under the onslaught. Alexander, at the head of his companions, was unstoppable, a whirlwind of flashing steel and righteous fury. He hacked his way towards Darius, determined to end the Persian king's life, and with it, the Persian Empire. Darius, surrounded by his elite bodyguard, the Immortals, watched in horror as his army crumbled around him. He had never seen such ferocity, such cold-blooded determination. Fear, cold and clammy, gripped his heart. He knew he was beaten. Section 6. Flight of the King. As Alexander drew closer, his eyes locked on Darius. The Persian king panicked. Turning his chariot, he fled the field, abandoning his army to its fate. His flight shattered the morale of the Persian forces. They had been betrayed by their king, their god-king. With their king gone, the Persian resistance crumbled. Some fought on bravely, but most were cut down or fled in terror. The Macedonian victory was complete. The largest army the world had ever seen had been vanquished. Section 7. The Spoils of Victory. The Battle of Gaugamela was over, but the war was far from won. Alexander, ever magnanimous in victory, treated the Persian wounded with respect, and allowed the survivors to bury their dead. He entered Babylon not as a conqueror, but as a liberator, freeing the city from the yoke of Persian rule. The spoils of victory were immense, unimaginable wealth, vast territories, and the allegiance of countless new subjects. But Alexander was not driven by greed or lust for power. He had a vision to create a world united under his rule, a world where Greek culture and learning would flourish. Section 8. The Legacy of Gaugamela. The Battle of Gaugamela was a turning point in history. It marked the end of the Persian Empire, an empire that had dominated the Middle East for centuries. It also marked the beginning of Alexander's empire, an empire that would stretch from Greece in the west to India in the east. But Gaugamela was more than just a military victory. It was a testament to the genius of Alexander the Great, his tactical brilliance, and his unwavering determination. It was a victory that would inspire generations of military leaders to come. Section 9. Alexander's Empire, built on Persian ruins. Alexander's victory at Gaugamela sent shockwaves across the ancient world. This decisive battle, fought in 331 BC, marked the beginning of the end for the Persian Empire. The Macedonian phalanx, with its disciplined soldiers and innovative tactics, proved too much for the Persian forces, who were led by Darius III. The Persian Empire, once considered invincible, had been shattered by a force half its size. The sheer audacity and brilliance of Alexander's strategies left the world in awe. His ability to adapt and overcome seemingly insurmountable odds became legendary. The speed and completeness of the victory left no doubt. Alexander was a force of nature, a conqueror the likes of which the world had never seen. His leadership inspired his men to achieve the impossible, and his vision extended far beyond the battlefield. In the aftermath of Gaugamela, city after city fell to Alexander's advancing armies. The once mighty Persian cities, with their grand palaces and bustling markets, now lay in ruins or under new management. The local populations, initially resistant, soon found themselves part of a new world order. Persepolis, the jewel of the Persian Empire, was sacked and burned, its treasures carried back to Greece. This act was both symbolic and strategic, demonstrating Alexander's dominance and sending a clear message to any remaining Persian loyalists. Darius III, the once mighty king of kings, was murdered by his own men as he fled eastward, his empire crumbling around him. Betrayed and abandoned, his death marked the definitive end of Persian resistance. Alexander, with a heavy heart, buried his former enemy with full honors, a testament to his respect for a fallen foe. This act of respect was not just for Darius, but for the entire Persian culture, which Alexander sought to integrate into his own empire. The Persian Empire was no more. Its vast territories, rich in history and culture, were now under the control of a new ruler. Alexander's vision was not just to conquer, but to create a fusion of Greek and Persian cultures, blending the best of both worlds. On its ruins, Alexander began to build his own empire, a vast, sprawling realm that would change the course of history. His ambition knew no bounds, and his legacy would be felt for centuries to come as the Hellenistic world emerged from the ashes of the Persian Empire. The year was 331 BC. Alexander of Macedon, the young conqueror who had swept across Asia Minor, stood at the gates of Babylon. He was a vision of power and ambition. The citizens of Babylon, weary of Persian rule, saw not a conqueror, but a liberator. They had heard whispers of his victories, of his mercy, of his respect for their ancient gods. Hope, for the first time in generations, flickered in their hearts. As Alexander entered the city, he was met with open arms. Garlands of flowers adorned his path, incense filled the air, and the streets echoed with cheers. The priests of Marduk, the city's patron deity, welcomed him with ancient rites, proclaiming him the rightful heir of Babylon's glorious past. Alexander, ever the pragmatist, embraced their traditions. He understood the power of symbolism, the importance of winning the hearts and minds of the conquered. Babylon, the jewel of Mesopotamia, was a city like no other. Its towering ziggurats, its magnificent palaces, its bustling markets, all spoke of a civilization at its zenith. Alexander, awed by its grandeur, declared it the capital of his burgeoning empire. He immersed himself in Babylonian culture, adopting local customs, consulting with Babylonian astrologers, and even participating in religious festivals. But even as Alexander celebrated his triumph, a storm was brewing in Persia. Darius III, the Persian king, was gathering a new army, determined to crush the Macedonian upstart. Alexander, never one to shy away from a challenge, left Babylon in the capable hands of his general, Mazaeus, and marched east towards the heart of the Persian Empire. Persepolis, the ceremonial capital of the Persian Empire, was a city of breathtaking beauty and opulence. Its palaces, adorned with intricate carvings and shimmering gold, stood as a testament to Persian power. But in the spring of 330 BC, tragedy struck. A fire, its origins shrouded in mystery, swept through the city, reducing its magnificent structures to smoldering ruins. Was it an act of drunken revelry, as some historians claim, or was it a calculated act of revenge, a punishment for the Persian sack of Athens a century and a half earlier? The truth, like the ashes of Persepolis, remains elusive. Whatever its cause, the destruction of Persepolis marked a turning point in Alexander's campaign, a descent from liberation to retribution. Darius, his empire crumbling around him, fled eastward, hoping to raise a new army from the eastern provinces. But his support had dwindled. His own satraps, sensing the shifting tides of fortune, turned against him. In a desolate corner of his once mighty empire, Darius III, the last king of the Achaemenid dynasty, was assassinated by his own men. Alexander, upon hearing of Darius's death, was said to have been overcome with grief. He ordered a royal funeral for his fallen adversary, a final act of respect to a king who had lost his throne and his life. With Darius gone, Alexander was the undisputed master of Persia. He had achieved what no Macedonian ruler had even dared to dream of. He had conquered the Persian Empire.
The year is 326 BC, a time when the world was much larger and the boundaries of the known world were constantly being pushed by the ambitions of great leaders. Alexander the Great, conqueror of Persia, stands at the edge of the known world. His gaze is fixed on the horizon where the sun rises over lands yet to be explored and conquered. His army, a force that had marched undefeated for over 10 years, now stood on the banks of the Beas River in India. These men, hardened by countless battles and endless marches, had followed their king through thick and thin. Before them lay the vast and uncharted lands of the east, ripe for the taking. But something had changed. The dense jungles and wild landscapes seemed to whisper of challenges yet unseen, of dangers lurking in the shadows. The spirit of the Macedonian veterans, the very heart of Alexander's army, had reached its breaking point. These men, who had once been eager to follow their king to the ends of the earth, now found themselves weary and longing for the familiar comforts of home. They had endured years of relentless campaigning, from the scorching deserts of Persia, where the sun beat down mercilessly, to the lush valleys and treacherous mountains. They had faced every challenge with unwavering determination. From the scorching deserts of Persia to the icy peaks of the Hindu Kush, they had followed their king, their loyalty and endurance pushed to the limit. The harsh climates and rugged terrains had tested their resolve time and again, but the sight of yet another mighty river, another seemingly insurmountable obstacle, proved too much. The Beas River, with its wide expanse and powerful currents, seemed to symbolize the endless challenges that lay ahead. The men, weary in body and spirit, yearned for home. The thought of returning to their families, to the lands they had left behind so many years ago, filled their hearts with a longing that overshadowed their desire for conquest. They had given their all, and now, standing at the edge of the world, they wished for nothing more than to return to the places they once called home. The men were exhausted. They had marched thousands of miles, fought countless battles, and endured unimaginable hardships. The thrill of conquest had given way to a dull ache of longing for home. They missed their families, their wives, their children. The rumors of the lands beyond the Beas River filled them with dread. Strange beasts, fierce warriors, and endless jungles awaited them. The whispers spread through the camp like wildfire. Was this endless conquest worth dying so far from home? The discontent, simmering beneath the surface, finally erupted. When Alexander gave the order to cross the bays, the men, in an act of unprecedented defiance, refused to move. The army, once an irresistible force, had reached its limit. Alexander, the ambitious king, was furious. His eyes blazed with a fire that could not be quenched, a fire born from the depths of his unyielding spirit and relentless ambition. He, who had never known defeat, was confronted with the mutiny of his own men. These were the same men who had followed him through countless battles, who had shared in his dreams of conquest and glory. Yet, amidst his anger, he recognized the despair in their eyes, the exhaustion etched on their faces. These were not just soldiers, they were his comrades, his brothers in arms, who had given everything for his vision. He knew he had to appeal to the very core of their being, to remind them of who they were and what they had accomplished together. He had to reignite the flame of their shared purpose, to rekindle the bond that had made them invincible. He stood before them, not as a king, but as a fellow soldier, and bared his soul. His voice, usually commanding and authoritative, now carried a tone of vulnerability and sincerity. He reminded them of their shared dream, the vision of a world united under one banner. A world where their names would be remembered for eternity, where their deeds would echo through the annals of history. He spoke of their glorious victories, their courage in the face of overwhelming odds. He recounted the battles they had won, the enemies they had vanquished, and the lands they had conquered together. He acknowledged their sacrifices, their pain, and their longing for home. He spoke of the families they had left behind, the homes they had not seen in years, and the sacrifices they had made for the greater good. In that moment, Alexander was not just a leader, but a beacon of hope. He embraced his men, not with the authority of a king, but with the warmth of a brother. He reignited their spirits, reminding them that their journey was far from over and that together they could achieve the impossible. Alexander's words, impassioned and heartfelt, resonated with his men. His voice carried the weight of countless battles fought side by side, the shared victories and the losses that had forged an unbreakable bond between them. They saw in him not just their king, but a leader who understood their plight, a warrior who had shared their burdens. His empathy and understanding were evident in every word he spoke, and the soldiers felt a deep connection to him. He offered them a choice, to continue the march eastward or to turn back. This was not just a strategic decision, but a moment that would define their legacy. The weight of the choice was palpable, and the soldiers knew that their decision would shape the future of their empire. He promised them riches and glory if they pressed on, but assured them that their decision, whatever it may be, would be respected. The promise of untold wealth and eternal fame was tempting, but the assurance of respect for their choice was what truly resonated with them. In the end, the decision was unanimous. The soldiers, after much contemplation and discussion, came together in agreement. Their unity in this decision was a testament to their collective strength and shared values. The men, moved by Alexander's honesty and empathy, chose to turn back. It was a decision born out of mutual respect and understanding, a recognition of the sacrifices they had all made and the bonds they had formed. It was not a defeat, but a testament to the bond between them and their king. This decision highlighted the deep loyalty and trust that existed within the ranks, a bond that was stronger than any desire for conquest. They had achieved the impossible, conquered vast empires, and etched their names in the annals of history. Their journey had been one of unparalleled success, marked by bravery, strategy, and an unyielding spirit. Now it was time to return home. The journey back was filled with reflections on their incredible achievements and the anticipation of reuniting with their loved ones. The soldiers marched with a sense of pride and fulfillment, knowing that they had made history. Section 5. The Gedrosian Gauntlet. The return journey was not a triumphal march, but a grueling test of survival. Alexander, ever the strategist, chose a route fraught with danger, the Gedrosian Desert, a desolate wasteland of scorching sand and unforgiving terrain. It was a decision driven by necessity, a shortcut through a treacherous land, a gamble to bring his men home faster. The desert stretched endlessly before them, a sea of dunes shimmering under the relentless sun. The heat was unbearable, the air thick and suffocating. Water became a precious commodity, more valuable than gold. The men, already weakened by years of campaigning, were pushed to their absolute limit. The desert tested them like never before. The scorching sun beat down mercilessly, baking the very ground they walked on. Dust storms, sudden and violent, engulfed them in a blinding whirl of sand. The men, parched and exhausted, stumbled through the shifting dunes, their bodies pushed to the breaking point. Food was scarce. They hunted what little wildlife they could find, their rations dwindling with each passing day. Many succumbed to heat stroke, their bodies too weak to withstand the unforgiving environment. Yet, they marched on, driven by a shared desire for survival and the hope of seeing their homes once more. The Gedrosian desert took its toll. Many brave souls perished during that harrowing journey, their bones left to bleach under the desert sun. It was a testament to the cruelty of nature, the fragility of life, and the resilience of the human spirit. After what seemed like an eternity, they emerged from the wasteland, battered but unbroken. The sight of green fields, sparkling rivers, and familiar landscapes brought tears to their eyes. They had faced the wrath of the desert and emerged victorious, their bond forged in the fires of hardship. The mutiny on the banks of the Beas River and the grueling return through the Gedrosian desert reveal a deeper truth about Alexander's army. Their refusal to march further east was not an act of cowardice, but a testament to their humanity. They had given their all for their king, their loyalty never wavering, their courage never faltering, their endurance, their willingness to follow Alexander to the very edge of the world and back speaks volumes of their trust in him. He was not just their king, but their comrade, a leader who inspired not through fear, but through shared purpose and mutual respect. The story of Alexander's army is a timeless epic, a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity. It reminds us that even in the face of unimaginable hardship, even when pushed to the brink of despair, the human spirit can endure. It highlights the bonds of loyalty, the power of shared sacrifice, and the triumph of courage over adversity. Their journey, etched in the annals of history, continues to inspire us, reminding us that the greatest journeys are not measured in miles, but in the strength of the human heart. The echoes of their courage resonate throughout time, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who dared to venture to the edge of the world and back. Alexander of Macedon, a name whispered in awe, a figure whose very mention evokes images of grandeur and unparalleled ambition, a legend forged in conquest. By the age of 32, he had carved an empire stretching from the sunlit shores of Greece to the distant mystical lands of India. His campaigns were not just battles, they were epic sagas of strategy, bravery, and relentless pursuit of glory. He was undefeated, a god-king in the eyes of his men. His presence on the battlefield was like that of a divine force, inspiring unwavering loyalty and fear in equal measure. Yet even Alexander could not outrun fate's embrace. In the ancient city of Babylon, at the zenith of his power, a creeping sickness seized him. The very city that symbolized his greatest triumph now became the stage for his greatest struggle. The conqueror of nations was now a prisoner in his own body, his booming voice reduced to a raspy whisper. The man who once commanded legions with a mere gesture now struggled to lift his own hand. The royal court, accustomed to triumphs and celebrations, buzzed with fear and uncertainty. Whispers of concern filled the grand halls as the once invincible leader lay vulnerable. Alexander, who had stared down charging elephants and routed countless armies, was now bedridden. His once indomitable spirit seemed to flicker like a candle in the wind. His robust health, once a symbol of his invincibility, had vanished. The physicians, with their ancient remedies, could do little to restore the vigor of the great king. As days melted into nights, the question on everyone's mind remained unspoken. Was this the end of an era? The world held its breath, waiting to see if the light of Alexander's legacy would be extinguished forever. The hero of Granicus and the victor of Gaugamela was now helpless. Fever racked his body, stealing his legendary strength. His generals, hardened veterans of 1,000 battlefields, stood vigil outside his chamber, their faces etched with worry. The weight of their king's mortality pressed down on them. Physicians, their faces creased with concern, huddled over their king, their faces drawn and pale. They administered poultices and offered prayers to the gods, but the fever burned unabated. Alexander, who had once roared like a lion on the battlefield, could only manage a weak cough. The air grew thick with the scent of incense and the bitter tang of fear. Rumors like venomous snakes slithered through the palace corridors, spreading fear and uncertainty among the inhabitants. The once vibrant and bustling palace now echoed with hushed conversations and suspicious glances. Had a fever truly felled their invincible king? The physicians were baffled, unable to pinpoint the exact cause of his sudden decline. His once formidable presence reduced to a frail shadow of its former self, or had a more sinister hand silenced him? Whispers of treachery and betrayal grew louder, casting a dark shadow over the court. The possibility of foul play could not be ignored. The whispers pointed towards poison, a weapon as silent as it was deadly. The idea of a slow, insidious toxin taking down the mighty Alexander sent shivers down the spines of those who heard it. The most common suspect, Antipater, a powerful Macedonian general whose son Alexander had recently dismissed. His motive seemed clear, but was it enough to commit such a heinous act? Others whispered of a Persian plot, revenge for the Persian Empire Alexander had so ruthlessly crushed. The Persians had every reason to seek retribution. But could they have orchestrated such a plot? Yet, amidst the speculation, no concrete evidence emerged. Theories and accusations swirled, but nothing could be proven. The lack of definitive proof left everyone in a state of perpetual doubt. The truth, shrouded in the mists of time, remained as elusive as ever. Historians and scholars would debate for centuries, but the mystery of Alexander's death would never be fully unraveled. Was Alexander's death a natural end, or had someone dared to defy the King of Kings? The question lingered, haunting the annals of history. The question hung heavy in the air, unanswered and unsettling. The legacy of Alexander the Great, marked by his untimely demise, would forever be tinged with uncertainty and intrigue. As darkness closed in on Alexander, his generals crowded around his bed, their faces etched with grief. With his last breaths, he uttered words that would echo through history. To the strongest, what did he mean? Was he naming his successor, or was it a lament, a recognition that his empire, held together by his iron will, would now be consumed by ambition? The ambiguity of his final words only deepened the mystery surrounding his death. His generals, each a formidable leader in their own right, interpreted his words to suit their ambitions. The stage was set for a power struggle that would tear apart the empire Alexander had so painstakingly built. Section 5. The empire torn asunder. Alexander's death sparked chaos. His empire, stretching from the Balkans to the Indus River, was too vast, too diverse for one man to control. His generals, a collection of proud and ambitious men, immediately turned on each other. The very unity that Alexander had forged in life became a curse in death. Alliances shifted like desert sands. Betrayals cut deep like poisoned daggers. The once unified Macedonian army fractured, each general vying for the lion's share of Alexander's dominion. The empire, held together by the sheer force of Alexander's personality, began to unravel at the seams. The most powerful of Alexander's generals, known as the Diadochi, carved up the empire amongst themselves. Antigonus took Greece, Seleucus claimed Persia, and Ptolemy seized Egypt. Each man, once a loyal general under Alexander, now styled himself king, their ambition eclipsing their former camaraderie. The wars of the Diadochi raged for decades, a brutal testament to the fleeting nature of empires. These conflicts reshaped the political landscape, giving rise to new kingdoms and dynasties. Alexander's dream of a united world under Macedonian rule lay shattered, a casualty of his generals' insatiable hunger for power. Though his empire fragmented, Alexander's impact on the world was undeniable. He had shattered the old order, ushering in the Hellenistic age, a period of cultural exchange and intellectual flourishing. Greek language, art and philosophy spread eastward, influencing cultures from Egypt to India. Alexander's conquest also opened up new trade routes, connecting east and west as never before. His legacy, a complex tapestry of conquest, cultural exchange and ambition, continued to shape the world long after his death. Even in death, Alexander the Great cast a long shadow over history. The true cause of Alexander's death remains a historical puzzle, shrouded in layers of myth and speculation. Despite the passage of over 2 millennia, the exact circumstances surrounding his demise continue to baffle historians and scholars alike. Was it a sudden fever that claimed him, a common affliction in those times, or was it a more sinister plot involving poison that cut short his reign? Theories abound, each more intriguing than the last. The passage of time has only deepened the mystery, leaving us with more questions than answers. As the sands of time continue to flow, the enigma of Alexander's death grows ever more complex, with new theories emerging and old ones being re-examined. Modern historians and scientists continue to debate the possibilities, analyzing ancient texts and even exhuming remains. Advanced technologies like DNA analysis and forensic science have been employed, yet a definitive conclusion remains elusive. Perhaps the answer lies lost to time, buried beneath the sands of Babylon or hidden within the ruins of ancient cities that once thrived under his rule. The quest for truth is as relentless as it is fascinating, or perhaps like Alexander's cryptic final words, the truth is destined to be debated and reinterpreted for centuries to come. Each generation of scholars brings new perspectives, yet the core mystery remains unsolved. The enigma of his death only adds to the allure of Alexander the Great, ensuring his place as one of history's most enduring enigmas. His legacy, marked by both his extraordinary conquests and his mysterious end, continues to captivate and inspire. Alexander's story is a reminder that even the mightiest empires are built on fragile foundations. It is a tale of ambition, both inspiring and cautionary. While his conquests were remarkable, it is his lasting impact on culture, language, and the very fabric of human civilization that truly cements his place in history. In the end, Alexander's death, shrouded in mystery and followed by chaos, reminds us that even the greatest individuals are mortal. Their passing, however, can mark not just an ending, but also a beginning. Alexander's legacy, a complex tapestry of conquest and cultural exchange, serves as a powerful reminder of humanity's enduring capacity for both greatness and self-destruction. Alexander the Great was more than just a king. He was a force of nature on the battlefield. From the time he took command of the Macedonian army at the age of 20, Alexander never lost a battle. He conquered the Persian Empire, the largest the world had ever known. He led his armies from Greece to India in just 10 years. Alexander's military genius was evident in every victory. He was a master of strategy and tactics. He understood the importance of speed, surprise, and maneuver. He knew how to inspire his men to feats of extraordinary courage. His victories were not just about brute force. Alexander was a clever strategist. He adapted to his enemies and exploited their weaknesses. His armies were outnumbered in almost every battle, but they were better trained, better equipped, and better led. Alexander's conquests took him across vast distances and diverse terrains. He crossed the Hellespont into Asia Minor in 334 BC. He defeated the Persian king Darius III at the Battle of Granicus River. This victory opened the way for his advance into the heart of the Persian Empire. From Asia Minor, Alexander marched south. He liberated the Greek cities of Ionia from Persian rule. He continued eastward, fighting his way through Syria and Egypt. The Egyptians welcomed him as a liberator, crowning him pharaoh in 332 BC. Alexander's march seemed unstoppable. He founded cities, built roads, and established trade routes. His empire stretched from Greece in the west to the Indus River in the east. He created one of the largest empires the world had ever seen. Alexander's conquests had a profound impact on the ancient world. He didn't just conquer territories, He spread Greek culture wherever he went. This period of cultural exchange is known as the Hellenistic era. Alexander founded cities throughout his empire, many named Alexandria in his honor. These cities became centers of learning, commerce, and cultural exchange. Greek art, architecture, language, and philosophy spread throughout the ancient world. The Hellenistic era was a time of great intellectual and artistic flourishing. It saw the rise of new schools of philosophy, like Stoicism and Epicureanism. This era had a lasting impact on the development of Western civilization. Alexander's military genius was evident in his innovative use of tactics and strategy. His ability to adapt and think on his feet set him apart from other military leaders of his time. He understood the importance of combined arms warfare, a concept that involved the coordinated use of different types of troops to achieve a common objective. He seamlessly integrated his infantry, cavalry, and siege weapons, ensuring that each unit supported the others effectively on the battlefield. One of Alexander's most effective battlefield tactics was the hammer and anvil. This involved using his infantry to hold the enemy in place, while his cavalry delivered a powerful flanking attack. He would pin down his enemies with his infantry, the anvil, creating a solid and immovable line that the enemy could not easily break through. Then he would strike with his companion cavalry, the hammer, at a decisive moment, delivering a crushing blow that would often lead to the enemy's collapse. He used this tactic to great effect at the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BC, decisively defeating Darius III and conquering the Persian Empire. This victory showcased his strategic brilliance and solidified his reputation as one of history's greatest military commanders. Alexander also excelled at siege warfare, demonstrating his versatility as a military leader. He was able to adapt his strategies to different types of combat situations. He used sophisticated siege engines like battering rams and siege towers to capture heavily fortified cities, showcasing his innovative approach to overcoming obstacles. His siege of Tyre in 332 BC, an island city thought to be impregnable, is a testament to his military engineering skills. This remarkable feat involved building a causeway to reach the city, demonstrating his ability to think outside the box and achieve the seemingly impossible. Section 5. Learning from greatness, how Caesar and Napoleon drew inspiration from Alexander. Alexander's military genius has inspired military leaders for centuries. Julius Caesar, the Roman general and statesman, was said to have wept at the foot of a statue of Alexander. He lamented that he had not achieved as much as Alexander by the same age. Napoleon Bonaparte, another brilliant military strategist, also greatly admired Alexander. He studied Alexander's campaigns and adopted some of his tactics. Napoleon, like Alexander, understood the importance of speed, maneuver, and decisive action. Both Caesar and Napoleon, like Alexander, were ambitious leaders who sought to expand their empires. They recognized in Alexander a model of military excellence, a leader who achieved extraordinary things through a combination of charisma, strategic brilliance, and unwavering determination. Section 6. Debating a legacy. Was Alexander's impact primarily positive or negative? Alexander the Great's legacy is complex and often debated. He was a brilliant military commander who never lost a battle. He was a visionary leader who spread Greek culture across a vast empire. However, Alexander was also ruthless in his conquests. His armies left a trail of destruction in their wake. Some historians argue that his empire was built on the backs of conquered peoples. They point to the destruction of Persepolis, the Persian capital, as evidence of his brutality. The debate over Alexander's legacy continues to this day. Was he a benevolent ruler who brought civilization to the world, or was he a ruthless conqueror who destroyed countless lives in his pursuit of glory? Section 7. Beyond the battlefield, Alexander's enduring influence on art, literature, and philosophy. Alexander's influence extends far beyond the battlefield. His legacy permeates various aspects of culture and intellectual thought, leaving an indelible mark on the world. He has been a subject of fascination for artists, writers, and philosophers for centuries. The sheer magnitude of his achievements and the dramatic nature of his life story have provided endless inspiration. His life and conquests have inspired countless works of art, literature, and drama, from grandiose paintings to intricate sculptures. Alexander's image has been immortalized in various forms. In art, Alexander is often depicted as a heroic figure. His portrayal as a larger-than-life character has cemented his status as a symbol of bravery and leadership. He is usually shown riding his horse, Bucephalus, into battle. This iconic image captures the essence of his fearless spirit and tactical genius. And one of the most famous depictions is the Alexander mosaic, which shows Alexander leading a cavalry charge against the Persian army. This masterpiece is a testament to his enduring legacy in visual art. In literature, Alexander's life has been chronicled by historians and poets alike. His adventures and exploits have been recorded in numerous texts, each adding to the mythos surrounding his persona. The Roman poet Virgil wrote about Alexander in his epic poem, the Aeneid. This inclusion highlights the far-reaching influence of Alexander's story across different cultures and eras. The Greek biographer Plutarch included Alexander in his lives of the noble Greeks and Romans. Plutarch's accounts provide valuable insights into Alexander's character and the impact he had on his contemporaries. Alexander's legacy continues to fascinate us today. Modern historians and scholars still study his life, and exhibitions dedicated to him draw crowds from around the world. His story is a timeless tale of ambition, courage, and the enduring power of the human spirit. Alexander the Great remains a figure of immense historical significance, whose influence transcends time and geography. Section 8. The Measure of a Man. What defines true greatness in a leader? Alexander's life raises important questions about the nature of leadership and the meaning of greatness. His conquests and the vast empire he built have been subjects of admiration and scrutiny for centuries. Was he a truly great leader, or was he simply a conqueror driven by ambition? This debate has persisted through the ages, with historians and scholars offering varied perspectives. There are no easy answers. The complexity of Alexander's character and his actions make it difficult to categorize him definitively. Some argue that true greatness lies in more than just military victories. They believe that a leader's legacy should be measured by their ability to govern wisely and justly. A truly great leader should also be a just ruler, a wise administrator, and a compassionate human being. These qualities are essential for the long-term prosperity and well-being of their people. And a compassionate human being. Compassion and empathy are often seen as hallmarks of true leadership, setting apart those who lead with heart from those who lead with an iron fist. Did Alexander meet these standards? His interactions with his generals and his treatment of conquered peoples provide some insights, but opinions remain divided. Others argue that Alexander's accomplishments speak for themselves. His military genius and strategic prowess are undeniable, and his ability to inspire and lead his troops was extraordinary. He united much of the world under a common language and culture. The spread of Hellenistic culture had a lasting impact on the regions he conquered, influencing art, architecture, and philosophy. He ushered in an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity. The stability and economic growth that followed his conquests laid the groundwork for future civilizations. His legacy continues to shape the world we live in today. From the cities he founded to the cultural exchanges he initiated, Alexander's influence is still felt in many aspects of modern life. Ultimately, it is up to each individual to decide how they will judge Alexander the Great. His life and legacy offer a rich tapestry of achievements and controversies, inviting us to reflect on what truly defines greatness in a leader. Section 9. The Ultimate General, a question for the ages. Alexander the Great was undoubtedly one of the greatest military commanders in history. His undefeated record in battle is a testament to his strategic brilliance, his tactical acumen, and his ability to inspire his men to achieve extraordinary feats. But was he the ultimate general? This is a question that has been debated for centuries. There are other contenders for that title: Julius Caesar, Hannibal Barca, Genghis Khan, and Napoleon Bonaparte, to name a few. Each of these leaders possessed extraordinary military skills and achieved remarkable victories. Ultimately, the question of who was the greatest may be unanswerable. However, by studying the lives and campaigns of these great captains, we can gain a deeper understanding of military history, leadership, and the enduring human fascination with war and conquest.